In the silent depths of prehistory, etched into the very soil of ancient Japan, lies a face that stares back at us across millennia. It is a face not entirely human, an enigma of clay and artistry that whispers of a forgotten time and a purpose lost to the echoes of time itself. Welcome to Echoes of Time, your portal to the forgotten pages of history. Today, we journey deep into the annals of Japanese prehistory to a time when the islands were shrouded in dense forests and primal mystery. Here, amidst the remnants of a long-vanished culture, archaeologists unearthed a discovery that continues to defy simple explanation: the strange humanoid figures known as Dogu. For centuries, these bizarre artifacts have captured our imagination and challenged our understanding of the ancient world. With their large, otherworldly eyes, abstract forms, and postures that seem frozen in some unknowable ritual, they pose a fundamental question: who or what were they meant to represent? Were they gods, guardians, or something else entirely? Could they be a record of visitors who descended from the stars? Join us as we peel back the layers of dust and dogma to confront the profound mystery of the Dogu, Japan's ancient alien-like figures. Our story begins in the Jomon period, a vast expanse of time stretching from roughly 10,000 to 300 BCE. This was Japan's prehistory, a period of immense duration, where communities of hunter-gatherers thrived in a land teeming with life but fraught with peril. The people of the Jomon period were sophisticated artisans, masters of pottery, and deeply connected to the spiritual landscape that surrounded them. They lived in tune with the seasons, their existence a delicate balance between the bounty of nature and its unforgiving power. It is from the earth of this long-lost world, from settlement sites and burial grounds, that the Dogu emerge. Pulled from the darkness of centuries, they are the silent witnesses to a culture we can now only glimpse through the artifacts they left behind. The unearthing of a Dogu is a moment of profound connection with this distant past. Imagine the careful work of the archaeologist, brushing away soil to reveal a fragment of fired clay. It is rarely a complete figure. In fact, one of the most consistent and perplexing details about the Dogu is that they are almost always found intentionally broken. An arm, a leg, or the head is often missing, snapped off before the artifact was buried. This strange pattern of ritualistic destruction is a crucial clue, suggesting these were not mere decorations. They were objects of immense power, figures that played an active role in the lives of the Jomon people. Their breaking was likely a deliberate act, a critical part of their function. But what ceremony, what belief would demand the symbolic destruction of such carefully crafted figures? The answer remains one of the greatest enigmas in Japanese archaeology. The figures themselves are as varied as they are strange. They range from the simple and abstract to the intricately detailed, but all share a distinctly non-naturalistic quality. Some are squat with wide hips and ambiguous features, while others are more slender and ornate. But among the thousands that have been found, one type stands out, capturing the imagination like no other: the Shakōkidogū, the goggle-eyed Dogu. These figures are defined by their enormous, slit-like eyes, which bear an uncanny resemblance to the snow-goggles worn by Inuit and other northern peoples to protect against the blinding glare of the sun on snow. The eyes are not just an artistic flourish, they are the figure's dominant feature, giving it an appearance that feels both ancient and futuristic. The rest of the body is often covered in swirling patterns and cord-like markings, suggesting elaborate clothing, or perhaps something more esoteric, like energy fields or spiritual tattoos. They are figures of immense presence, their gaze commanding attention across the void of 5,000 years. Faced with such peculiar artifacts, scholars have dedicated their lives to deciphering their meaning, giving rise to a number of compelling theories. The most widely accepted academic view places the Dogu at the heart of Jomon cosmology, interpreting them as representations of goddesses or powerful spirits. In this light, their often exaggerated female characteristics, wide hips and prominent breasts, point to a role as fertility idols. For a society dependent on the bounty of nature, rituals to ensure successful hunts, plentiful harvests, and healthy childbirth would have been paramount. The Dogu could have been a vessel for these hopes, a physical effigy of the life-giving mother goddess. The ritualistic breaking, from this perspective, might have been a symbolic act of transference. Perhaps a person suffering from an ailment would break off the corresponding limb of the Dogu, burying it in the belief that the spirit within the figure would absorb the sickness and carry it away into the earth, healing the afflicted individual. In this sense, the Dogu were not just idols to be worshipped, but active tools used in the sacred technologies of healing and survival. Yet, this explanation does not fully satisfy everyone, especially when considering the unique aesthetics of the goggle-eyed Shakōkidogū. This has led to another, more grounded but equally fascinating theory, that the Dogu are not depictions of spirits, but of humans. According to this perspective, the ancient Jomon people were not creating idols of the supernatural, but were instead immortalizing themselves and the essential gear they wore to survive in the harsh environments of prehistoric Japan. The infamous goggles might be just that, protective eyewear crafted from bone or wood, essential for hunting in the bright, snowy landscapes of the north. The elaborate patterns covering their bodies could represent thick, padded winter clothing or even rudimentary armor. This theory transforms the Dogu from a mystical icon into a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience. It suggests that the Jomon people saw something heroic and worthy of representation in their own struggle for existence. They were not just praying to gods, they were honoring the human spirit and its ability to adapt and overcome. It's a powerful idea, one that grounds these strange figures in the tangible reality of daily life in the ancient world. However, there is one theory that transcends both archaeology and anthropology, a theory that has launched the Dogu from academic journals into the realm of global popular culture. This is the provocative and endlessly captivating ancient astronaut theory. This hypothesis makes a bold claim that the Dogu are not representations of gods or humans in primitive gear, but are instead a visual record of extraterrestrial beings who visited Japan in the distant past. Proponents of this idea argue that the figure's features are simply too strange, too divorced from human anatomy to be a product of earthly imagination alone. The large goggle-like eyes, they suggest, are the lenses of a helmet. The strange, stocky proportions and lack of a distinct mouth on many figures are interpreted as depictions of a being encased in a spacesuit. The intricate patterns on the body are not clothing, but the complex instrumentation of advanced technology. According to this view, the Jomon people were not just hunter-gatherers, they were witnesses to a profound and transformative event. They encountered beings from another world, and in their attempt to process this contact, they recreated what they saw using the materials they had: clay. The Dogu, in this context, become Japan's unique contribution to a global phenomenon of ancient art and legends that seem to hint at contact with advanced, non-human entities. From the Nazca lines in Peru to the carvings of ancient Egypt, speculative historians see a pattern of evidence suggesting that our ancestors were not alone. The ancient astronaut theory posits that these advanced visitors were often perceived as gods, their technology seen as magic, and their teachings forming the basis for early civilizations. While dismissed by mainstream academia, the theory's power lies in its ability to ignite our imagination, to look at an ancient artifact and see not just the past, but a potential link to the cosmos. It reframes the Dogu not as a relic of a primitive culture, but as evidence of humanity's cosmic heritage. So where does the truth lie? Is it buried in the soil of scientific archaeology with its focus on ritual and symbolism, or does it soar in the speculative skies of ancient astronaut theory? The debate itself is a fascinating echo of our own modern struggle to understand the past. On one hand, scholars meticulously analyze soil layers, compare pottery styles, and build their conclusions on a foundation of verifiable evidence. They see the Dogu as a vital window into the spiritual and cultural life of the Jomon people, a complex society with its own rich cosmology. On the other hand, alternative theorists look at the same evidence and see a profound failure of imagination in the conventional explanations. They argue that to ignore the sheer strangeness of the Dogu is to willfully overlook a possibility that could rewrite human history. The broken state of the figures fuels both sides. For archaeologists, it's a sign of a specific Earth-based ritual. For ancient astronaut theorists, it could be the symbolic representation of a damaged or departed visitor. Ultimately, the Dogu remain silent. They offer no definitive answers, their clay faces guarding their secrets as they have for thousands of years. They are a testament to the fact that history is not a closed book, but a living landscape of mysteries yet to be solved. They force us to confront the limits of our knowledge and to accept that some echoes from the past may be too faint for us to ever fully decipher. The figures are a powerful reminder that our ancestors inhabited a world that was, in many ways, profoundly different from our own. A world of deep spiritual belief, of intimate connection with nature, and perhaps of wonders we can no longer comprehend. They are a mirror held up to us, reflecting our own desire to find meaning in the unknown and to connect with the great unfolding story of humanity. As we stand before these enigmatic figures, we are left with the same questions that have haunted historians and archaeologists for generations. What did the Jomon people see? What did they believe? And what message were they trying to preserve in these clay effigies? Were they shaping the face of a goddess, honoring the resilience of their own people, or were they trying to capture the likeness of a visitor from another world? Perhaps the true purpose of the Dogu was not a singular idea, but a fusion of them all. A sacred object that embodied their hopes for fertility, their respect for survival, and their awe of the great unknown powers of the universe. The forgotten purpose of the Dogu may never be fully known, their story forever a part of the great unfinished puzzle of our past. And as we continue to search for answers, we must ask ourselves, what other secrets still lie waiting, buried beneath the dust of centuries?